Go with me to the book of First Chronicles chapter 4. I'm reading from the first verse. The sons of Judah, Perez, Hezron, Carmel, and Shobal. Let's jump to verse 9. Jabez was more honorable, more than his brothers. And his mother named him Jabez. If the Bible is just, you can underline it. His mother named him Jabez. Why? Because I bore him in pain. Verse 10. Jabez called on the name of the God of Israel, saying, "Oh, that you would bless me and enlarge my border, and that your hand might be with me, and that you would keep me from hurt and harm." And God granted his request. Somebody say, and God granted his request. How many of us know that this very year has been declared a year of elevation? So for this reason, I want to speak to you briefly on a message I have captioned, "I am too loaded to be grounded." Rise up, talk to 3 people, tell them, "I am too loaded to be grounded." It is interesting for you to understand the dealings of God with humanity. I have come to understand that the God we serve has time for everybody. And the interesting thing here is, sometimes you may be going about your business without knowing that you are on the calendar of God. I think Jabez is one of the people who actually challenge me when it comes to the characters of the Bible. And the reason why Jabez is a challenge to my life is because if you go to revival meetings, if you go to prophetic meetings, if you go to motivational services, one of the characters that people actually talk about when they want to change the course of a man's life is Jabez. As a matter of fact, the Jabez story, or the story of Jabez, is a story that has gained so much popularity. It has gained so much popularity, and it is interesting for you to understand that in spite of how popular the story may be, the Bible devoted just 2 verses to the story of Jabez. It's sad because now if we have somebody who is popular, then certainly he should be somebody that has a lot of things spoken about or written concerning his life. But here is a man that the Bible actually devoted only 2 verses to his story, and yet Jabez has gained so much attention. And the reason is that life is not about how much is written of you, but the impact you make. It is interesting here because if you look at the chapter, particularly from the 4th chapter, the verse 1, you would understand that the story is about a family or a tribe called Judah. Because the story, the chapter, actually began with the tribes of Judah. If you look at it carefully, you would understand that the genealogies of the fathers were actually mentioned. And whenever they started any family or any genealogy, they mentioned the fathers before they mentioned the sons. And it's so interesting because the mothers are not even included in the genealogy. But when it got to the story of Jabez, the actual story changed, because it moved from fathers and sons to a mother and a son. Because the story said, but Jabez and Jabez and Jabez. And if you look at Jabez, one significant thing about Jabez here was the fact that he was named by the mother. Now, whenever the Bible calls a man and the Bible says he was named by the mother, you see, the normal or the ordinary mind will look at it and there is nothing he or she would question. But to the more curious mind, what is actually happening? Because now if you look at the Bible, particularly from the patriarchs, you would understand that naming was not given to the mothers but to to the fathers. Because if you look at Genesis, right from the very foundations, you would understand that the first man who actually had a naming ceremony was Adam. It was Adam that God himself called the animals to come to Adam. And Adam began to give them names. And whatever he called them, that was the name God gave to them. And from Adam and the patriarchs, you talk about Abraham, you talk about Isaac, you talk about Jacob, you would understand that all of them were the very people who gave names to their sons and their daughters. And if you look at our family, if you look at our setting, our culture, it is so interesting that we also have followed such a pattern that it is the normal or the ordinary thing for the fathers to give names. But in this case, it is the mother who is actually giving the name Jabez to Jabez. And the question the curious mind will ask is, if the mother is giving Jabez a name, then where is the father? Because if the father is around, then it becomes, of course, the duty of the father to give a name to Jabez. But here we have the mother calling Jabez Jabez because of her experiences. And the question I ask here is, where is the father? This is an indication that there are marital issues that has got to be settled in this place. Because if naming people was given to hardship, it does not mean that the man is superior, because the man and the woman was created equal but different. And the reason it becomes the honor, it becomes the power of the man to name, was as a result of headship. And because the man is the head, then he of course gives the name to the child. But the mother of Jabez is giving the name to Jabez, and where is the father? If you can understand that there is a marital issue here, then you can actually understand the pain of the mother. Because if you look at the culture where they were coming from, it is not a culture that takes certain things for granted. It is a culture that actually follows traditions and things that has been laid down. If you look at even the case of Jesus, it was not Mary who gave the name, but she only received the name. And it was God the Father who gave the name, because the birth of Jesus has got nothing to do with Joseph. So if Joseph is not the father, but if God the Father is the father of the Holy Son Jesus, then as a result of a headship, he is supposed to give the name to Jesus. I hope you are following where I'm going. And so now there is a problem that has to be settled. It means there is some kind of marital issues that is going on in the text, because as long as the father is not mentioned, the identity of the father is not exposed. It means that there is that tendency that the father might have divorced the mother of Jabez. Psychologists, they are saying that in the developmental stages of every man, there is something that has an effect on your development. It is known in psychological cycles as the nature controversy. And what the controversy is actually about is the fact that what impact does your environment make on your life, and what impact does your genes, your genetic makeup have on your life. Even psychologists have not actually been able to apportion the percentage they make. It is interesting for you and I to understand that this means that our biological makeup, our genetic makeup has an impact on our life. I don't know if you understand it. The kind of parent who give birth to you, the genes that was transferred onto you, the trait, it has an impact on your life. That is what the psychologists call nature. But if you look at nature, the environment, it also plays an important role in our life. there is no way the child who will grow in a nice environment that things are in order, there is no way you can compare such a child to a child who grew up in a struggling environment. I don't know if I have a witness here. There are some people who grew up in environment that they have never heard the word poverty, but there are some people who grew in an environment who can actually explain, define, and modify the concept of poverty by virtue of what they have been through themselves. So it is important for us to understand that this presupposes that our environmental factors play a pertinent role in our life. If you look at our environment, we can actually divide it into three. There is what you call your prenatal environment, which is your environment in the womb. There is a perinatal environment, which is an environment during delivery, and there is a postnatal environment, which is an environment after your death, after your birth. You see, the prenatal environment is an environment which plays an important role in your life. Let me read an article which was written by Sharon Begley. She said, and I quote, she said, "Seeds of health are planted even before you draw your first breath, and that 9 short month life in the womb shape your health as long as you live," unquote. If you look at what this woman is saying, it is actually in line with what scientists say. And according to scientists, the environment in your womb plays an important role in your life, particularly your health. You see, there are some people who are blind not because they got involved in certain things, but because of the environmental factors in the womb of their parent. There are some people who have some kind of deformity not because they chose to, but because they were born with it. It was genetic. They came out of the womb with it. And this means now that whenever a woman is actually pregnant with a child, there is something that can cause a change in the life of the child. Every woman who has been pregnant before will bear with me that when you are pregnant, there is one thing you don't want to be involved in, and that is stress. And that is why when a woman is pregnant, they do everything they can to make sure that she is disassociated from her routine work. It is important here because now scientists are saying that when a woman is pregnant and is under constant stress, there is a kind of hormones that are released called the cortisol. And this kind of hormones, they are the hormones that whenever it is increased, it can lead to blood pressure. Whenever you are under such an intense or constant stress and pain, as a pregnant woman, you can have what is called high blood pressure. And whenever you have lived with it and the child develops under such a condition, it affects your environment during delivery. Whenever you are under pressure and you are delivering a child, this is what can happen to the child. The child can be hyperactive or underactive, or the child can even be temperamental. It can lead to imperfections in his thinking and in the way he does his things. It can affect the IQ, the intelligent quotient. You have to understand that this means that there is one thing you want to avoid, and that is stress. This was the kind of things that the mother of Jabez had to endure, coming from a family or a culture whereby people who got impregnated without any husbands were ostracized. Let me take you into the New Testament. Do you remember the story of Joseph and Mary? It was Joseph who said to Mary, please tell me, because I haven't had anything of this sort. The Bible Bible said Joseph actually planned to leave or to divorce her secretly. Why? Because they were not yet married. They were just espoused, engaged. It means that the culture does not support such an action. So for the mother to go through such a culture with such a situation shows that it will have some pressure on the life of the mother. And the mother had to live with all these things. The mother had to go to the hospital in this condition. The mother had to carry the child in this condition. No wonder when the mother looked at all this pain, the Bible said, and she called him Jabez. Why? Because I bore him in sorrow. Now you have to understand that when the text says I bore him in sorrow, it goes beyond the normal pain that happens to every woman when you are pregnant, because every woman goes through some kind of pain and some kind of stress and difficulty. But why is it that it does not inform the naming of their child? And the reason is that it is a normal thing. But what makes the woman's situation here so extraordinary is the fact that she had to endure all these things. And the woman looked at Jabez and said, because of all the stress I have been through, I will call you Jabez. And so now the name Jabez was to be a continual memorandum to him that this world is a value of tears, and he must expect few days but full of trouble. When Jabez walked through the earth, he walked anticipating pains, because his life was full of pain. Had been rejected by the father, and the father sees him as an embodiment of a mistake. The mother sees Jabez as a misfortune, and the society sees Jabez as a misfit. So not only is the life of Jabez affected by the nature controversy, but his life itself is an embodiment of a controversial controversy. In spite of all these things, the Bible said he was more honorable. And how could the Bible describe such a man as honorable? Now when the Bible says Jabez was more honorable, it does not mean that Jabez was financially sophisticated. It does not mean that Jabez was an academic guru. But what it means, because I began to wonder, how can you tell me that this man who has been in pain all his life, and you are calling him an honorable man, and not just an honorable man, but more honorable? I began to waver within my understanding, because it doesn't seem right. I consulted some commentators and some scholars of the Bible, and I realized that what I was thinking was actually what they were also thinking, because the Bible only devotes 2 verses to the story of Jabez. So if he is more honorable, then you have to show us on what account is Jabez honorable. But the Bible was silent. But this is what theologians are saying. Theologians are saying that Jabez is honorable because if you look at the text and the entire chapter, he was the only man who prayed. And so his honorability is not because of his money, but his piety. Oh God, can I preach to somebody right about this time? That means that what the society understands about an honorable personality is not what the Bible teaches, because we look at honorable people and we think they are the people in parliament. But can I just preach to somebody? You might be broke, but you are honorable. You might be poor, but you are honorable. You might not be respected, but you are honorable, because it's not something on the outside, but it is something on the inside. So he is honorable because of his piety. If you look at his prayer life, it was extraordinary. In spite of what the society felt about Jabez, he did not allow what the society feel, oh God, to inform his life. The society felt a different thing, but Jabez also felt a different thing, because whenever you are in such a condition, if you are not careful, you can be broken down, because now you walk about and you look at your mother, and anytime the mother sees Jabez, oh God, his name actually reminds her of all the pains that she had to go through. And whenever Jabez sees the mother, he also feels that if it was not my birth, my mother should have been better than what she is now. And so now Jabez is walking in life and he's feeling guilty about himself. He's feeling guilty about his condition, yet he was not the one who actually brought all these things upon him. And whenever you are in such a condition, there is a fear of failure. It shows you that there is nothing I can do in this life. I cannot live beyond this limit. I cannot go beyond this limitation. I cannot go beyond this boundary. But if it is the devil who said it, then the devil is a liar, because he who determines your future is not the devil. He himself has to depend on God, and if he himself depends on God, then your future cannot depend on the devil. And if you're in this such kind of state, if you are in psychological trauma, if you are psychologically tormented, oh God, it can lead to what psychologists call a psychosis. You can become a psychotic. A psychotic person is a person who has a complete breakdown from the painful world. Anytime you look at yourself and you say enough is enough, I have had enough of this world, you are becoming a psychotic. Or you can also become a neurotic. Oh God. And whenever you see the psychotical stage is the first stage, and it moves to neurosis, and whenever you move to that stage, you want to avoid further insult, so you look at yourself and you tell yourself, I think I have to end it, because if I end it, there'll be nobody around to come and insult me. Oh, please don't be a psychotic, and don't be a neurotic, but be a pre-neurotic. A pre-neurotic person is a person who does not break down, but the person who looks at the obstacle and can say to himself, it does not matter the obstacle, I am bigger than this mess. This is what you have to get to. It is a stage where you say to yourself, it does not matter what the devil wants to do, it does not matter what the enemies want to do. One man said, and I quote, his name is Chascus, he said, life is a 10-speed bike, and most of us have gears we never use. Don't you ever think that your life has come to an end, because there are certain stages when you get to that stage, there is still a gear that you have not used. Do you know the gear? Maybe society has given up on you, maybe friends have given up on you, maybe everybody has given up on you, but there is one gear. I heard Jeremiah when he said, call unto me and I will answer you and show you great and marvelous things that you don't know. When everybody has given up on your life, when everybody is saying you can't make it, I cannot tell you there is a God who looks at you and tells you you can do exceedingly abundantly above what you can think or ask or imagine. So Jabez looked at himself and said to himself, if nobody is going to help, then I will call on God. If nobody is going to bring me out, and I will call on God, because if I call on the God, do you know what the Bible said? He did not call on the God of the Moabites, on the God of the Philistines, but the God of Israel. Give somebody high five. Say, I have a God. Do you know the God of Israel? I'm talking about the God who parted the Red Sea into two. I'm talking about the God who killed the firstborns. I'm talking
talking about the God who made the heaven. I'm talking about the inventor, the creator, the God who created the world without pre-existing materials. Can I preach to somebody? That's the God I'm talking about. The Bible said, and he prayed on the God of heaven and said that thou wildest bless me. I came to tell somebody the blessings of God make it a man rich, and he added no sorrow. It doesn't matter how poor you may be, when God blesses you, your life will change. It doesn't matter where you are coming from. When God blesses you, your destiny will change. It doesn't matter the names that you have. When God blesses you, I came to tell somebody, it does not matter your condition, but you can do something here and you will have a change in your house. I prophesy there is a change entering your house, entering your job, entering your family, entering your school, entering your finance. Somebody rise and shout, yeah. I don't want to waste your time. I feel an anointing. I was once looking at a chick and a hen, and I wanted to see how the chick breaks out, oh God, of the egg. And I came to understand that whenever it is time for a chick to break out of the egg, there is something that you call the egg tooth. The egg tooth, even though the chick is a day-old chick, but it has got an egg tooth, and the chick uses the egg tooth to break. And when he breaks the egg, it makes sure that there is a bigger hole for the chick to come out. And I came to understand, if the chick, a day-old chick, has got what it takes to come out of a confinement that God placed him there, then I don't care who the devil has confined you. Then I don't care that demons who have kept you. I came to tell somebody, you are too loaded to be grounded. You are too loaded to be poor. You are too loaded to be kept in chains. The Bible said, out of the mouth of babes and suckling has thou ordained strength because of thy enemies. I say to you, if you shall open your mouth and say a word, tomorrow by this time you will be out of this. Tomorrow by this time you will be out of pain. Tomorrow by this time you will be out of shame. I came to tell somebody, you gotta decide. 2011 shall not be as 2010. You gotta decide. 2011 I will be the head and not the tail, above and not below, on top and not beneath. The Bible said, say to the righteous that it is well. I prophesy tomorrow by this time the fast shall be the last, and the last shall be the first. Give two people high five. Tell them, look at me, because tomorrow you cannot recognize. I will be a changed person. I will be the next billionaire. I will be the next millionaire. I will be the next president. I will be the next multimillionaire. Am I talking to somebody?
Let me tell you, some of you are still crying. Why should my father give me such a name? See, my theology changed when I read the story of Jabez. You know why? Because most preachers have made it to look as if the whole problem was due to his name. Obi a friend abebrese awatokada. Obi da mehubida. Obi a friend abebrese na oda kam. Ye for comfort. Usu. Obi dia abebrese. Eda kam. You see, you have to change your mentality. You have to say to yourself, Sometimes you see people with funny names, yet with funny money. They are too rich to be funny. 2011. I was so about going to say, yeah, they want to bosumpa ubeye.
I prophesy to you. I don't care your name, your background. Tomorrow by this time, you will be the next millionaire. I said you'll be the next millionaire.
Oh, be I didn't to Tanoe. What a Tanoe da? What a Tanoda? Ayan Sudi, what a Prada? Ayan Sudi, Omunye ye. Oh, dada, oh, my bonafide dada. Obi I didn't to bosom, be a bosom din danaso. Obi and Sue din danaso. Oh, ye. Obi mo how we had to suffer. Oh, my important to the suffer. If you can understand who you are, you will know that you are bigger than this. If you can understand who you are, you can break out of every shell. Now what the ball to you know what? It's not because of the size of the ball. It's because of what is in the ball. Jesus. The ball may look small, but by virtue of what is in it, it can sink. I don't know, so what did the American Asia?
Wouldn't be a two mu. A so champo. As what you be, I know about me, I mean, our feet. Meso, how be I know about me, I mean, I can be I know about me, I mean, or here be I know about me, I mean, Yaria be I know about me, I know. If Jabez came out,
you will come out. See, sometimes, Ejinawa Jenso, and Ujidi, me pacho, Jabez, 40 days a dry. I'm not saying it's not good, but what I'm saying is, just 2 sentences be empire. It is the faith and the mentality attached to it.